Hi guys, my name is Yashan Somya. I am 13 years old and I live in Lenasia. And I wanted to send a message out to other children my age and even elder than me that alcohol isn't the right way, and I'm going to show you how to avoid alcohol when going to high school, how to avoid peer pressure, and since alcohol has been exposed in my life since I was small, I know a lot of people who struggled with it, and the people who are still struggling with it and still drinking and taking drugs. And this method that I want to teach you guys is the same method that can be applied to anything like drugs, drinking, smoking, anything it can be applied to. You just have to be open minded about it. And yeah, I just wanted to show you about Sober Leon's channel. He helps people how to get control of their drinking habits without using AA or willpower. You know, the rehabs, why most people are in rehabs and then they come out and then they go back is because rehabs are are not teaching what Sober Leon is teaching. So I would recommend you guys to look at his channel. He exposes alcohol and it helped a lot of people. And
Don't forget, tell
yeah,
him about the method he uses. First principles thinking. Explain what first principles thinking from your viewpoint.
first principles thinking is viewing something as a poison. Uh, like in rehabs, they say you are the problem.
You are
You
alcoholic,
are
they
an
say.
alcoholic, but you are not the problem. The alcohol is the problem. So I would recommend you guys, go for coaching sessions with this guy Sober Leon. He even has a website and an app. You can download it and get control of your drinking. And yes, that's
You,
all.
you see, the problem is, lots of people, let me explain. Also, I taught him, lots of people view alcohol as a relaxing thing. Now, what Sober Leon does, all he does, can you remember? He said, just change one small thing. View alcohol as a poison. Like you see, since you've been coming here, have you seen how much of times we're exposed to alcohol?
Yes.
I can be exposed, someone can be drinking a beer. All I do, no willpower, use first principles thinking, which is viewing alcohol as a poison. Okay, so guys, he explained to you guys on what's it like. Check out other videos, but let's watch a video of Sober Leon while we chat.
Listen, each sip of alcohol isn't just poisoning your body, it's ripping neurons from your skull. And today we're going to be looking at 5 ways alcohol is quietly destroying your brain. Listen, this might make you feel uncomfortable, but stick around because by the end of the video, this information could get you to rethink your relationship with alcohol forever. Now, a very quick introduction. My name is Leon Sylvester. I'm the founder of SoberClear.com. Now, I drank alcohol myself for close to a decade, but for the past 6 years, I've not touched a drop and I've had no desire to drink. I've now helped hundreds of others achieve the same thing in my coaching program. Now, if you want more information on this, on how we do it, you can either head over to SoberClear.com, or if you want to book a call to speak with my team, you can click the link in the description. What we'll do on that call is figure out if the program could work for you, and we'll explain how it works in as little as 48 hours and how it gets a 92 to 97% success rate. The call is totally free, so you've really got nothing to lose. So again, definitely click the link in the description to book a call, or just go to SoberClear.com. And now let's dive in. So to start, alcohol doesn't just affect your brain.
There's one, guys. Where
Yes.
does Yashin what he does?
Alcohol shrinks your brain mass, meaning you won't have a clear understanding of stuff, and it destroys your brain slowly and surely.
And it shrinks communication parts. It like messes up communication parts. That's why you see when people drink, some of them they what? They stutter, isn't it?
Yes.
They stutter.
They struggle to put their words together in one sentence, and it's very difficult for them to do it.
Back to the video.
It actually physically shrinks it, carving out empty spaces where healthy neurons once thrived. By the 1970s and 80s, scientists were starting to realize that chronic alcohol consumption literally eats away the brain. Alcohol kills off the brain cells, the so-called neurons, and in the process, it shrinks the brain mass. Some of the earliest hints were from autopsy studies of the brains of deceased heavy drinking men. These autopsies found that they weighed on average around 5% less than healthy controls. With the advances in imaging techniques like CT scans and MRIs, researchers were able to investigate these differences in further detail, and the phenomenon is now firmly established in the medical literature. You will find it variously referred to as brain shrinkage, brain atrophy, or brain aging. The losses are generalized, affecting more or less every part of the brain. Our brains naturally have cavities in them, and these are filled with a fluid known as CSF. As a result of the loss in the brain mass, the brains of these heavy drinkers have unnaturally large cavities, with a corresponding increase in the volume of CSF. Having said that, certain brain regions are hit especially hard, especially in the frontal areas, which underlie our executive function, and we'll return to this shortly. Several structures that are involved in memory, like the hippocampus, are also hit hard. The good news is that after you stop drinking, your brain mass will recover relatively quickly, and at the 12-month point, it will largely be at your pre-drinking levels. On the flip side, this increase in volume is not due to the replacement of dead neurons. Most neurons in the brain are irreplaceable. Once they die, they are gone for good. The increase is due to the...
You guys see, once they die, the neurons in your brain, unfortunately, sadly, it's gone for good.
remaining neurons increasing their connections to compensate for the lost ones. Once that's set in motion, there's a second, more insidious assault. The delicate chemical balance inside your head collapses, leaving your nerves buzzing with anxiety and chaos. So everything that goes on in our mind, all our thoughts, emotions, desires and actions are the result of our neurons communicating with each other. And the way this happens is through specialized messenger molecules called neurotransmitters. One neuron pings a neurotransmitter to another one, who then pings another one, and so on, and it makes a huge interconnected circuit. There's 6 major neurotransmitters, of which the most well known is dopamine. We'll come back to dopamine in a minute, but for now, what I want to emphasize is that our psychological well-being is dependent on our various neurotransmitter systems being in balance, so-called homeostasis. Neurotransmitters are so important that most of modern psychiatry is more or less about regulating them through medications or other means. And many psychiatrists believe that conditions like major depression, anxiety disorders, schizophrenia and so on are caused by our neurotransmitters being out of whack. See, alcohol is virtually unique among recreational drugs in that it affects more or less every major neurotransmitter system in our brain. But the 2 neurotransmitters that it affects the most are GABA and glutamate. GABA is the brain's major inhibitory neurotransmitter. In other words, it inhibits neurons from transmitting signals. Glutamate, on the other hand, is the exact opposite. It's an excitatory neurotransmitter that stimulates the neurons to transmit more signals, thereby increasing brain activity. Now, alcohol artificially stimulates the activity of GABA, while simultaneously suppressing that of glutamate. So you have a more active inhibitory neurotransmitter and a less active excitatory neurotransmitter. The result is decreased overall brain activity. This is why alcohol is classed as a central nervous system depressant. It literally slows down your brain. The problem is that over time, a drinker's brain adjusts to the alcohol constantly floating about. And in response, it changes the way that it responds to GABA and glutamate, a process scientists call neuroadaptation. In order to counterbalance alcohol's effects, it becomes less sensitive to GABA and more sensitive to glutamate. And this is the scientific reason why, when somebody hasn't had a drink for a while, they start to become anxious, restless, they can't sit still, can't sleep, and so on. Their nervous system has become intrinsically overexcitable. The natural balance between GABA and glutamate, the homeostasis that all non-drinkers enjoy and take for granted, has been severely compromised. This is also why heavy drinkers are prone to all sorts of anxiety disorders, typically social phobia, panic attacks, or generalized anxiety. These symptoms typically become even more severe when the person tries to quit drinking. Clinical studies find that up to 4 out of 5 of those suffering with heavy withdrawal also suffer with repetitive panic attacks. In severe and relatively rare cases of advanced alcoholism, the overexcitability can be so severe that it can lead to seizures, hallucinations, and even death. This is why alcohol is one of the relatively few recreational drugs where the withdrawal process can kill you. Not even crack cocaine can do this.
Museums,
Sorry guys,
visitor
Edward.
centers, galleries and libraries.
Digging even deeper, a third hidden cost emerges. Those circuits that make life feel pleasurable go dark, draining the world of its spark. So we touched on dopamine in the last section, and you've probably heard of the term dopamine addiction. Now, just to be clear, there is no such thing as dopamine addiction. This is a later bit bro science. It's used in popular culture to describe repetitive, low-value behaviors that people engage in compulsively. Think gaming or gambling. What actually happens is that dopamine is the principal neurotransmitter involved in our so-called brain reward circuit. This circuit is activated when we experience rewarding stimuli like tasty food or sex. The reward circuit then creates a sense of euphoria and well-being, compelling us to seek out the same stimuli in the future. And it evolved because rewarding stimuli that we find in our natural environment like food or sex were crucial to our survival and reproduction. The problem is that once alcohol reaches the brain, it chemically stimulates the reward system, causing the release of the famous dopamine. Now, some drugs like cocaine or amphetamines directly activate the system and release dopamine, and you can get addicted to these drugs super quick, sometimes after just a few uses. Alcohol causes dopamine release indirectly, through its action on other brain circuits, which then promote the release of dopamine. So it doesn't quite pack the reward punch of cocaine or speed, and the addiction...
Yeah, guys, you see, he's knowing the effects of alcohol. Take your hand out, knowing the effects of alcohol now, huh? First principles thinking, let's be serious, yeah? Okay. I know we're watching ourselves, but yeah, guys, teaching the children about alcohol. Because where you go, how old are they? The youngest child drinking, you know? Don't have to name names.
Yeah, like 15, somewhere there. Yeah.
You see? Use first principles thinking. The Lens people and the South African people, first principles thinking. Help you quit alcohol.
takes longer to develop, but the end result is the same. The constant artificial activation of the reward system numbs it down, suppressing the natural release of dopamine, leading to a loss of interest for natural rewards. And without sounding too offensive, this is largely the reason why heavy drinkers can be very sad people. Literally nothing gives them pleasure. All the activities and places and people that they used to enjoy now do nothing for them. Hopefully I pronounced this correctly, but the scientific term for this is anhedonia, a Greek word literally meaning lack of pleasure. Once the person sobers up, the now fried reward system finds itself without the artificial support of booze. Then the anhedonia becomes even more intense, and in severe addiction, this can persist for several months after the last drink. Now, we kicked off today's video by discussing the generalized brain shrinkage that follows years of heavy drinking. As you can imagine, this massive dying off of our neurons has very real consequences for the person's everyday life. We saw earlier that parts of the brain involved with memory and executive function are especially affected. Now, in case you haven't heard of executive functioning before, it refers to the ability to plan, monitor, and execute goals. It also involves the ability to respond dynamically to changes in the environment and incorporate these into decision making. When executive function is impaired, people may struggle with problem solving, adapting to new situations, or controlling impulsive behaviors. This can lead to significant challenges in both their personal and professional life. All aspects of memory are also affected. So, short-term memory, working memory, verbal and visual memory, the ability to...
You guys see all those memories. It affects short-term, long-term memory, visual memory. That's what alcohol has to... That's what alcohol can do.
And the ability to recall.
Also,
So, yes.
which is very important.
recall past events, pretty much everything. But the decline extends far beyond just memory and executive function. Processing speed, attention, social intelligence, visual spatial ability, and verbal skills are also affected. The person is basically dumbed down across the board. On a more positive note, researchers all agree that most of these impairments will start to reverse after sobriety, but they disagree as to the extent of the recovery, as well as how many months or years it may take. Now here's the bad thing. The end result of chronic heavy drinking is often a complete collapse of the brain in the form of full-blown dementia. So, severe language problems, often to the point where the person can't string a sentence together, severe memory loss, and severe motor impairment. The symptoms are basically very similar to Alzheimer's, and it's often very difficult to distinguish the two. The person is basically unable to even do basic tasks and is completely dependent on others for survival. According to one proposal, for dementia to qualify as alcohol-related, a man must have consumed at least 35 drinks a week over a period of 5 years. For women, the corresponding figure is 28 drinks a week. Scientists aren't sure if alcohol-related dementia is solely due to the neurotoxicity of ethanol, or if other factors like thiamine deficiency are also involved. You see, heavy drinkers are particularly vulnerable to thiamine deficiency. deficiency, not only because of their poor diet, but also because alcohol directly interferes with thiamine metabolism. Thiamine deficiency is also responsible for a related neurological condition called Wernicke-Korsakoff syndrome, which mostly affects heavy drinkers. Tragically, alcohol-related dementia can affect relatively young people, even in their 40s or 50s. Most researchers estimate that 1 out of 10 cases of dementia are linked to alcohol, while others suggest that this may be as high as 2 out of 10. And ladies and gentlemen, if you click the video on the screen now, you're going to see a totally new method to getting in control of your drinking quickly.
Yes, so guys, this is the end of the video, and hopefully you'll learn something new and you don't drink anymore and never drink. Yeah.
Please,
So-
guys. Yes, you can
so
explain.
check out this link. It helps drinkers get in check of their drinking problems. Yeah.
And it asks you a variety of questions, like you can see here. You just have to go to. Let me do this here. You just have to go to. Here's his description. Just check. Here's Sober Leon's channel. You just go to more, and you'll see all of that. And even if you guys cannot afford the coaching, just rewatch his videos over and over. As you guys can see here, if you go by popular, I don't know which was your favorite video of Leon. If you can still remember.
I'm not so sure, but because every video is my favorite. So,
You see. Okay, you can end of session.
okay, bye.